The National Park Service logo.
Title: Yellowstone in Depth.
Time-lapse of visitors strolling on a boardwalk. Next to it, a sign reads Old Faithful Geyser. People take turns posing and taking pictures next to the sign. Then, visitors exploring a museum. In the middle of the main entrance, a sign predicting the time of the next eruption. People gather around the sign and check their phones for more information.
Darlene Boss, Interpretive Park Ranger.
People normally go on vacation. They have a schedule that they use. So we're going to have lunch at noon or 1 o'clock. We're going to go scuba diving at 3 o'clock. And we're able to use the clock to base our activities on.
A ranger changes the time of the next predicted eruption on the sign. Next, another ranger at an information desk talking to a visitor, followed by digital screens showing geyser prediction times.
But here at Old Faithful, we don't use the regular 12-hour clock that everyone else uses. It's all about Old Faithful.
A series of shots showing a couple eating in a park under the shade of a tree, children sitting down chatting and watching a geyser, and people walking down a boardwalk. Then, a crowd of people gathered around a geyser, while a ranger gives them information and checks his watch.
So when people choose to have their lunch or their dinner or their nap or their walk through the geyser basin, all is based on when the Old Faithful is going to erupt, so they can be sure and see it.
A geyser erupts intermittently, ejecting columns of water and steam.
Title: Predicting Old Faithful.
Old Faithful is getting ready to erupt, so I am trying to time it. Oh, and there it goes.
A hand holding a stopwatch. Then, a ranger sitting at her desk in a room with direct view of Old Faithful. She watches the eruptions, timing them with her stopwatch and taking notes.
So I'm hitting the stopwatch, and I'm noting the time on the atomic clock at 12:58, which is pretty good considering that the prediction was 12:59. So we're getting closer and closer. Now I'm going to measure Old Faithful. So as the plume of water gets higher and higher in the window, I'm comparing it to this tree right over here.
A tall tree to the left of the erupting geyser.
And I'm using this picture, which has a triangulation set up, to identify how high the water went on the tree.
She holds up a photograph of the tree with arrows pointing at various heights along its length.
And what I figured out, Old Faithful's hit its peak already, was that it came to about right here, which is about 140 feet. So in the logbook, in addition to the start time, I'm going to record 140 as the height of this Old Faithful, which is the tallest one today, which is kind of nice.
Close-up of water gushing out.
And then all I need to do is keep an eye on the timer and see how long Old Faithful lasts. And that's all going to determine how we predict the next one.
Dozens of visitors gathered behind a window wall overlooking the geyser as it erupts.
I'm also going to record the interval between the last Old Faithful and this one, which is 89 minutes. We take those intervals and we use those to make our average. Basically, we use observational Old Faithful to figure out how to predict it. And it changes through time. Just a couple weeks ago, we were using 88 minutes for a long eruption. And now we're using 90 minutes because we figured out that that was going to give us the better average.
Panoramic view of Old Faithful violently erupting into huge sprays of water. People gathered at a distance around it watch or film it with their phones.
So Old Faithful is now been going for 1 minute 48 seconds. It's still going strong. If it lasts longer than 3.5 minutes, then we have what we call a long eruption, which is the most frequent form of Old Faithful eruptions. It's a bimodal geyser. It has longs and it has shorts. If it's going to have a short, I would expect that any minute now it would just suddenly stop. If it were to do that, I would go ahead and predict it for 62 minutes, but it looks to me like it's probably going to be a long. Still a lot of water coming out of it. We're at 2.5 minutes now.
Columns of water keep gushing out of Old Faithful.
So we're going to wait another minute and make sure that Old Faithful is a true long.
Stopwatch continues keeping the time, now counting upwards of 2 minutes and 35 seconds. The ranger takes out her binoculars and uses them to observe the geyser.
We're getting to the point where the water's pretty low right now, so I'm going to be using the binoculars to determine the difference between the water and the steam. We won't consider the eruption done until there's no more water coming out.
Water still bursting out of the surface of the earth, while clouds of steam are carried away in the direction of the wind.
We're still getting kind of big spurts of water coming out of Old Faithful.
A large crowd walking away from the site of Old Faithful.
Most of the people have turned away now. We are at 3.5 minutes. So we're going to consider this to be a long eruption, but I am going to wait and record.
She presses the stop button on the stopwatch at 3 minutes and 43 seconds.
Okay, and it's done. So 3 minutes, 42 seconds. So our start time was 12:58. So our next prediction would be go 1:58 and then go to 2:28. I'll write 2:28 in the book.
She notes the time on her logbook.
And then the next thing I have to do is tell the world.
She holds a walkie-talkie up to her mouth.
This is 724 Victor with the Old Faithful prediction.
She talks on the phone.
Old Faithful geyser is predicted to erupt at 2:28 p.m. plus or minus 10 minutes.
The time of the next predicted eruption is changed on the digital board to 2:28 p.m. Then a watch worn around a man's wrist showing the time. It is 2:25 p.m. Dozens of people gathered around Old Faithful as it erupts.
Yellowstone in Depth, Predicting Old Faithful. Produced by Neil Herbert. Additional filming David Restivo and Jay Elhard.
The Canon logo.
Made possible by a donation from Canon USA Incorporated through the Yellowstone Park Foundation.